Good morning, everyone. We are going to call to order Committee Number 1, Budget and Finance, and thank you, everyone, for being here. It's my goal to try to be as close to on time as possible because everyone's time is very valuable, and I know these presentations, for some of you may get a little lengthy, so we're trying to keep it within our time frame. So with that being said, I am going to go ahead and call up Shelby County Juvenile Court Judge, Judge Tarek Sugarman, and let him present first.
Okay, there we go. Good morning, Judge Tarek Sugarman, Juvenile Court Judge. Thank you for this opportunity. You all met Dr. Hill before, who is our CAO, and we also have with us this morning Ms. Erica Evans, who is our Chief Judicial Counsel in Juvenile Court. The first matter we have requesting is a 30% magistrate capacity shift. That is the DHS grant. If we shift that from our core magistrates' salaries, we have 5 core magistrates. That grant money, if we shift it into our budget, general budget, that will give us more capacity. We're asking that the county fund the 30% replacement, so that gives them more capacity on our child welfare matters. That amount would total $255,000. The strategic fix is to move that 30% over to salaries, again, giving us more financial sustainability in our personal budget and aligns the budget structure with actual workload. Bottom line is currently our magistrates are limited to a narrow set of eligible cases, that is primarily child support. They're handling as much broader range of critical matters, especially in child welfare, where the demand has grown. This shifts and ensures that we aren't restricted to non-4D child support cases and allows us to meet more community needs. Supporting details are in fiscal year 2025, the court heard over 4,000 DNN, dependency and neglect cases. The court cannot meet its statutory timelines for adjudication and disposition of these matters due to current volume and lack of judicial capacity. In fiscal year 2025 also, the court heard more than 2,000 cases related to custody and visitation. Adjudication hearings within 30 days if the child is placed outside of the home are required by statute, and in all other cases within 30 days but no later than 90 days unless good cause is shown. Dispositional hearings within 15 days of adjudication if the child is placed outside of the home, and in all other cases within 90 days of adjudication unless good cause is shown. That is the reason we're requesting that 30% be shifted over. The next ask is for 2 new magistrate positions. Additional capacity will increase capacity by 212 cases per week, and this again is on our dependency and neglect cases as well as custody, visitation, school advocacy, which is truancy, preliminary motions and motions, preliminary hearings and motions. That amount is 466,444 cases. Why it matters is the court is handling a high volume of complex cases involving vulnerable youth and time-sensitive family matters. The impact of 2 additional magistrates will allow us to hear an estimated 212 more cases per week, dramatically reducing delays for families. With 2 new magistrates, we will be able to expand the following dockets: DNN cases, custody, visitation, again, school advocacy, also known as truancy, and preliminary motions and preliminary hearings and motions. The bottom line, the investment will reduce backlogs, improve case management, and shorten the time for Shelby County families. And as it said, when justice is delayed, justice is denied. This not only applies, to the persons accused in matters especially on delinquency matters, but also the victims that are involved in that matter. The next, you see our judicial org chart. The 2 new magistrates, which fall under the complement of the core magistrates and the chief magistrate, Magistrate Afton Strong, they would be a direct report to them, as well as to our chief legal officer, Ms. Erica Evans, and then, of course, under me, the judicial coordinator, administrative assistants, and the executive secretary. Now, the next request is to increase a salary increase for the non-4D core magistrates, of which there are 6. There's a chief magistrate, chief legal officer, and we're requesting a salary of a minimum of $170,000 increase. Now, the county attorney's salary is currently increased up to $161,000. Nashville magistrates who do the same work Their salaries range between $145,000 and $175,000. That total increase would be $127,745.75. The current challenge is that core magistrates are making less than the attorneys who appear before them, despite carrying a far greater legal and ethical responsibility. The legal complexity of these matters that the magistrates handle must be proficient in 24 titles under the Tennessee Code, as well as operate under 5 sets of procedural rules. Now, I know the judicial commissioners hear criminal matters and make bond settings for them, but juvenile court magistrates are required to comply with the Tennessee Rules of Juvenile Procedure, as well as criminal procedure, civil procedure on child support cases, the Tennessee Rules of Procedure, as well as the local rules under Tennessee law in rules of evidence. Local and statewide, other counties, including Davidson County, are already making more than what our magistrates are currently making. Shelby County is at risk of losing top judicial talent in our juvenile court without a competitive compensation rate. And the final part of my presentation is that these budget requests are about meeting the demand, retaining critical personnel, and ensuring every child and family who comes before the court receives timely, informed, and fair justice. The total amount of those 3 requests are $849,189.75.
Thank you so much, Judge Sugarman. I will go with the first question before. I don't see any of my colleagues in queue just yet, but couple of things, and I don't see it in here, but if you just mentioned Nashville, Metro Nashville, and Davidson County, what their salaries are. By any chance, do you have the numbers for Hamilton County and Knox County?
Judge Tarek Sugarman, we have requested that information. We do not have that at hand right now, but we can get it probably
Okay.
within the week. We'll have to contact the AOC, the AOC in order to get that information.
If you can please get those numbers to me for comparison, that would be helpful as
Hamilton
well.
and Knox, or just Hamilton?
Hamilton and Knox.
Okay, all right, thank you.
The other question that I have is currently, how many cases are you hearing regarding truancy weekly currently?
I'll let Judge Tarek Sugarman, I'll let Ms. Evans speak to that.
Erica Evans, right now we have 1 docket for truancy, and we call that school advocacy matters. And I believe there are 25 cases per week that we can hear. And so with an additional magistrate hearing those type of cases, we can have truancy all day. And so I looked up how far we're out already, and I think the last our next available court date is May 21st, from when we can have our next set of cases set. So we're all the way out through May, and that's why we think it's critically important that that new magistrate could have the capacity to hear those truancy cases.
Gotcha. All right, and my last question before I move on to Commissioner Wright is just overall, how many cases are you hearing weekly as of right now?
Overall, Ms. Tarek
Overall.
Sugarman, all of our dockets?
That is an excellent question that I should know. Erica Evans, that's an excellent question. I can give that exact number to you. Again, we have, each of the magistrates have about 6 or 7 dockets per week, and maybe Dr. Hill knows the answer to that.
Okay.
Stephanie Hill, Chief Administrative Officer. Specifically, a lot of this request is tied to child welfare because that's 75% of our work, and we're hearing over 500 child welfare cases per week.
Okay, thank you so much. Commissioner Wright, you're in the queue.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning. Good morning to you, Judge Sugarman, Dr. Hill, and Ms. Evans. Thank you for presenting to us this morning. Just, I think I may have missed what you were saying about the DHS grant. Is that grant just expiring, or can you speak more to that?
Okay.
Stephanie Hill, Chief Administrative Officer. No, the grant's not expiring. The grant will continue. We're just looking to shift capacity from that grant. Currently, there are 5 magistrates that are considered our core magistrates. Total, we have 13 magistrates, but there are 5 that are considered core magistrates that are linked to that grant, and 30% of their salary is tied into it. The other child support magistrates are funded at 100% under that grant. We're looking to take those core magistrates that hear the dependency and neglect, custody and visitation, those other case types. We're looking to pull them out of that grant because the need is so high to hear dependency, neglect, custody, visitation, truancy, preliminary hearings, those motion hearings. And so if we pull their 30% out of the grant and put them 100% on the court's personnel budget, that gives us additional capacity. Because in that grant, they're limited to only hearing 4D child support cases.
And so when you remove those from the grants, does that, what takes the place of the grant funded? What additional,
So the grant funds will still be available, and so we're exploring options with the state for how we can expend those additional grant funds. Potentially another child support magistrate, potentially some supportive services in child support. So we're exploring how we would still expend those funds from the grant if we pulled that 30% out.
And Judge Tarek Sugarman, one other thing I want to speak about capacity. With the new blended sentencing law, we're going to have an increased capacity of cases being tried because the designation as a serious youthful offender, as well as the method of transfer if a youth is over the age of 14, in most instances, the defense attorney will rather take it to trial, so we need that additional capacity to hear those matters.
and I guess the last question I had, it's not necessarily budget, specific to budget, but since we're talking about the magistrates, I know in past, maybe it's been many years past now, just the very idea of a magistrate under your supervision has been at times controversial or discussed about whether that's, I don't know, formally adopted under county government. Has that been cleared up, or is there anything that we need to do to formalize that position?
Erica Evans, so under Tennessee law, the juvenile court judge can appoint anyone to hear the type of cases that he would hear. So that is codified in state law that he can appoint magistrates to hear the matters that he also would be able to hear.
And Tarek Sugarman, I'll speak just briefly to that. One other reason is because the judge has to hear rehearings in most matters where a magistrate has ruled, so that appeal would come to, that rehearing would come to me before it goes to the appellate court.
Thank you, Commissioner Wright. Commissioner Thornton, you're in the queue.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Judge. So I'm just curious about data that your office produces. So if we wanted to get some more demographical data, specifically zip code data related to those that you serve, is that public facing, or do you produce any reports? How do we get a better understanding of like what you're seeing within the court?
So we do share our data online at judgesugarman.com. If you go to our county, or you can go through the county link and it takes you to the same place, there is an icon there that says Our Data. And if you go there, that's where we share our quarterly data reports. We're also in the final stretch of finalizing our annual report from FY24. And so that should be out within the month. And that will give you all a picture of what the last fiscal year looked like for us.
So if I wanted to know more about housing insecurity or transit barriers or socioeconomic status, how granular does the data that you present get?
And Stephanie Hill, Chief Administrative Officer, it doesn't get that granular yet. A couple of things that have been in the queue for us. One is, of course, changing our system to Quest, which is the system that the state is requesting us to move to. And that will create an opportunity for us to get more granular with our data collection, with our data tracking. So it doesn't go into the specifics of housing insecurity. We, of course, look at the data by zip code, and I know that would be of interest to you all for the districts. And so if there's something customized that you all were looking for, I can definitely see if what we're able to pull through our Director of Research and Data.
Yeah, I would definitely, as as we see dysfunctions within the county, I feel like it's incumbent upon us to address those things. And one thing that's lacking for me here in year 3 is just having a better understanding of how we intervene. I think one time in one of your presentations, you talked about a huge conversion from Oak Haven to the courts. And so, I've casually brought that data point up in conversations with Oak Haven leaders who were surprised but not surprised. And so it's no coincidence that there's not an Oak Haven Neighborhood Association, that they have a number of different stakeholders who need to work together. The Alumni Association isn't incorporated. So it's like, how are monies flowing into a place where there's not infrastructure? And so as we're having those conversations, it's just very telling, like there is no one that can actually safeguard that community. And thus, we're seeing it play itself out with our young people. So I just would like for us, and this just isn't a push for your particular office, but just across the county, for us to be able to figure out how to communicate to us as we're allocating resources, how we can do that more thoughtfully and just target it to make a deeper impact. So I will be reaching out for additional data points, and I'll check out your website as well. But I do think that, in these presentations, it will be helpful to hear more of where the opportunities are, or where we're seeing any type of clustering of any of these dysfunctions that we can address.
And this is going to be news to some of my staff. I've been in conversations with a gentleman who has a system that they're using in Jackson. Judge Hicks, the juvenile court judge there, is using. It gets so granular, it looks at the demographics historically within that family unit, as well as the communities they come from, the impact of the economic situation, the schools that they go to. They look at the school records. It gets into the deep social history. And so there may be some issues legislatively we have to have done in order to be able to go that deep into it with youth and making that information available. But it's showing great promise in Jackson, Mississippi. So I do intend to try to bring that system into our court.
Thank you, Commissioner Thorne. Thank you, Judge Sugarman. Commissioner Wright, you're back in the queue.
Thank you again, Madam Chair. And I just recalled another area that I wanted to ask about. So over the last, this last year, we've had some issues in the facility at the Adams location. And so I wanted to check in on it, have those issues been remediated? Are we back in working order, and are there any additional facility needs that you have?
We are back in working order. We got a clean bill of health from the county health department during a walkthrough. We're still having some leakage issues on the administrative side of our building. It's coming clearly from the roof, and it will leak down into the area where our 40 magistrates' courtrooms are. So that's still a problem. There was a problem also with some open sewer lines in what was the detention area. I believe those have been taken care of, but it's in one area, so there were 2 or 3 lines that were not connected, and so fumes are coming into the area. I think that's been remediated, but I'm not sure. One other problem, though, is no transport still for these youth. We're still having to work out of one courtroom at the YJAC, Youth Justice and Education Center, and it's causing docket compression. At that location, we can only handle 32 dockets, and the docket slots we try to keep minimized, but we've had to increase the cases that we hear in each of those docket slots. At the 616 location, if transport was still going on, we would have the capacity to hear another 110 dockets, and so it basically reduces our capacity to dispose of these cases down to about 40% of what we normally could handle at 616. Between April 29th, when we were displaced from our building, 2024, up until Monday, a week ago, we had handled 3,174 matters there at the Youth Justice and Education Center. And so I have had transfer hearings where I've had to stop while they're still presenting evidence and bifurcate the case and continue to another day. So again, as I said, justice delayed is justice denied, not just for the persons who are appearing there, but also for the families of the victims. And finally, I'll say in our waiting area, it's probably about the size of this area here. You have not only the families of those that are accused of delinquent acts, but also the families of the victims, law enforcement, witnesses who are going to testify, and attorneys don't have the privacy need to discuss it with their clients because they have to go in the hallways and the cafeteria in order to have a conversation with their clients. So it is problematic, but we hope to have that rectified. We're working on an MOU with the county, as you know now. Hope to have that completed in short order and be ready for a transition to the Shelby County Department of Corrections by October 1st.
Thank you, Commissioner Wright, and thank you, Judge Sugarman, for that. I definitely, the goal is October 1st, okay. And so in the
Judge Sugarman,
meantime,
correct. Yes.
in the meantime, you're still going to have to continue like you've been continuing? Okay,
Yes.
thank you. Commissioner Thornton, you're in the queue.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to give you more space to talk about this platform that you're pulling from Jackson. So how long would something like that take to get, or what is the process of us rolling out something like that here?
Judge Sugarman, Juvenile Court, Shelby County. Honestly, I don't know. I had an initial conversation with a young man that put this together. He was a CEO with a tech company. I can get the information and the person's name. And also, I have reached out to Judge Hicks in Jackson, Mississippi. Hopefully, we'll have a trip down there soon because we're looking at how other juvenile systems. We're looking at Davidson County. We're going to take the trip there on April the 11th with the mayor's staff, but also we're looking at other jurisdictions that actually are doing good work and having good numbers in terms of turnaround. Specifically, there's one in Colorado. Is it Colorado?
Stephanie Hill, Chief Administrative Officer. We're taking a trip to Harris County, Texas, and we're going to look at Calashoo Parish. Those were recommendations from the Annie E. Casey Foundation for really good sites that we should go visit and understand how they're operating in excellence. And so we're hopeful because Andy Casey recommended that they'll help sponsor the trip for us to go and learn from those organizations. I've been to Harris County once before to learn from some of the innovations they're doing there. Of course, Judge Hicks is a part of the Annie E. Casey collaborative that we have going. So we have some good opportunities to learn from others that are further than we are.
Nice. I just can't stress enough, when we've received the first state data presentations, it just stands out to me, where people are sending their kids with the pre-K operators and where they are matriculating into kindergarten, there's transients there. And so how are we going to, as a county, increase how we function if we're not addressing the dysfunction? So when we talk about youth that are finding themselves to the courts, we have to go deeper into the data to figure out what's going on. What are the resources and the zip codes that they are coming from? How are the resources that they have access to on the other side of town from where they're headquartered? Are there any type of, I don't know. The relationship between the commission and particularly your office, it needs to be strengthened in the data sharing and understanding because there's a lot of there's a lot of opportunity here, even down to our Milton grants, which is our real sole discretion on the body. When people are presenting their citywide, countywide nonprofits, are you doing work in the places where there's the greatest need? We don't really have access to data. I don't know how my colleagues feel, but I don't feel like I've been given enough data in this particular role. So I would just ask that, with quickness, that we would figure out a platform that would go granular. Like you said, the one that you mentioned in Jackson sounds great, and having access to that, I know, would position me to do more. And so I would like to support those families and those students and look forward to seeing what you bring back to us. Thank you.
Judge Tark, I want to speak to that briefly. We are aware of that need, and what we have, and it's a PSA, I guess, but in any event, we quarterly invite the application of community liaisons, community organizations that provide services. If you know of any in your district, April 1st, yesterday, we started accepting applications. So if they go to judgesugarman.com, they can apply. And we have tiers. We have 4 different tiers, and it depends on what kind of service they provide, the level of financing they have. They have their own independent. They're up in level 1. But anyway, if they'll go on to that website, and if they want to apply to be a community partner with us, we welcome that opportunity.
Can I
Thank
say
you.
one last thing? Stephanie Hill, Chief Administrative Officer, we have an invitation that will come to you all for these influencer conversations that we want to have by district. And we're putting together kind of a cross-section of folks from each district to have conversation and to go deeper with us, where we will present data, more information about how we work. And we hope that when we send those invitations out, we will get, Commissioner Wright was at the one that we did last year. We hope to see all of you all there so that we can have these collaborative conversations, go deep around our work, because we are focused on the child welfare linked to delinquency. And that way we can share more data and information, and then we can plan and work together about how we really move each district forward. And so we'd love to see you all when we send those invitations out. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Commissioner Thornton. Thank you, Judge Sugarman and team. I'm excited to hear what best practices you come up with after your trip in dealing with Annie-Casey Foundation. I would just say that whenever you decide to make the presentation, make it your best and your final offer around what will be working best for you. So I get it. You want to hear other counties first before you present it. So I will say, make sure it's the exact thing that you want before.
Of course, we're not asking for an increase for our line staff who do the bulk of our work because we know it causes salary compression across all the other systems here. But at some point, we really need to try to address that, the disparity in our compensation.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, and you have a great team. Thank you for your presentation today. I do want to take a quick moment to figure out our tech issue with that microphone before we move on to our next presenter. All right, thank you so much. We'll now go back to item number 2, which is Shelby County Juvenile Court Clerk Janine Gordon.
Good morning, Madam Chair, and to Commissioner Thornton and Wright. Happy Wednesday. First of all, thank you all for the honor to be able to present my third budget since I have been in office, and it has been nothing short of an honor. I do just want to remind everyone that in terms of the clerk's office, we are definitely the support system for the court. And I have taken this job and this leadership role very seriously. And as I look at the dollars that we spend, I am a great steward of our money. And there has been moments where I've seen waste. But because we are serving the community, I have tried to rob Peter several times, and it has worked well. And the reason I say that is because I come to you for the very first time, and I was elected in September of 2022, and I have not asked for an increase. I have used the fully loved budget since 2021, and so this is my first ask ever. And as we support the court, there are needs. I am using technology to the best of my ability. We have used advanced tracking technology that have improved the management of our legal jackets that will ensure that our magistrates are receiving those dockets in advance for thorough review. We've also implemented a virtual check-in and digital docket. Our truancy docket is about 90% paperless, and so I strive to have a digital and paperless office because since I have been in office, I'm now paying $6 more per case for paper. And there is a lot of waste with that. And so we also have moved to a real-time summons and warrant system. It's called the SSW system, which will provide instant updates on service of process. Also, we are working to solidify our e-filing for our attorneys and our self-represented litigants or pro se litigants. That will launch in the first quarter of FY26 to really expand access to justice for everyone. Now, you talk about milestones and we talk about storage. We have very little storage. And so I am really working to digitize many of our records. And so right now we are working on 603 minute books. And they're going to transition all of those fragile physical records to a secure cloud storage. Now, it is going to cost us $17,000 to do that, and that will be done by the Register of Deeds office. And so it is really one of those initiatives that I have put forward to safeguard Shelby County's legal history while paving the way for long-term savings. And you're going to hear me say that a lot. I'm trying to save money, but I can't continue to rob Peter and Paul and go back and rob Paul some more, because whatever you implement for the court system, we're that support system. We've done it without asking for an increase. We've done it with the same staff, and right now we just are not able to. Especially with the ask from the court for 2 additional magistrates. We have to have support system for that. And as I continue to implement more and more technology and digitize our records, I still need staff. We're going to go to Quest eventually with our system. That's a training curve there as well. We'll also, the court is going to have Safe Babies Court. We have to have a team for that. And so there's going to be an increase in need for more team members. And so as I continue to strive for excellence and efficiency every single day in our office, we have achieved the highest summons and subpoena service rate in 15 years. 15 years. And I have summons officers or process officers who go out and they're making less than $35,000 a year. They wear a bulletproof vest, they carry a gun, and they drive their own vehicles. And so for the first time ever, we have the highest summons rate. They take their job seriously, but I still can't afford to give them a living wage. I would love to increase their funds just a little bit to say thank you. We're launching the garnishment project that was suspended because of COVID, and so that will relaunch again. I have to have 3 additional staff members for that. That is a process that I'm trying to make sure it is digital as well. I heard the court talk about visiting Harris County. My team and I are going to visit Dallas County next month. Their Register of Deeds and their Court of Clerk has had a paperless and digital office since 2015. And so we're going to see how they're doing it, because I want to be able to implement that here. Because again, it is a waste, and we don't have the storage for all of the paper, for all of the records. And so whatever the court does for every order, we have to be able to store it, we have to be able to retrieve it, and we have to have it easily accessible for the magistrates who will need it. We have to buy legal jackets, we have to buy paper and envelopes, and so those prices continue to go up. I am also implementing a policy where we will start sending out child support orders via email, but there's a process to that, because again, if you've ever seen a child support order, it has a parenting plan in it. It could be 10 pages easily that has to go out to both the litigants, and we also have to send it out to the attorneys. And so now that is something that the Juvenile Court Clerk's Office has taken on, because Maximus, the former child support agency, used to do that. They no longer do that. I am in talks with Veritas for them to take over, but for right now, it's not. That has tripled my paper. That has tripled the envelopes that I need. And so I look at what the court has done. They did 36,000 plus cases that were heard in 2024. Again, the volume that the juvenile court does is the largest in the state of Tennessee. And we all want to lead by example. We want them to look at us. We want to stop going to Davidson County. We want them to look at Shelby County and the way we are doing things, the way that we are having a bold vision and making those action plans and really putting them and implementing them for every process, for every policy, for every procedure. We want to lead the way for the state. We don't need the state to lead the way for us. And so I do have a huge ask, and this is for, to really be able to maintain a seamless operation for the court and the juvenile court clerk's office. And that ask is for 10 new full-time employees across our minute clerks, because of course, if there are 2 new magistrates, we need 2 new minute clerks, and we're already short 1. Our records department, and also our legal department. And so that really will ensure that the juvenile court clerk's office remains a trusted steward of justice for Memphis and the entire Shelby County. So again, this is my first ask, and I humbly come before you all and ask for your careful consideration when you're looking at what the court receives and our support system of juvenile court and what we will receive. Thank you.
Thank you, Clerk Gordon. Commissioner Wright, you're in the queue.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, Clerk Gordon. Good to see you again.
Good morning, Commissioner Wright.
And I can attest to your previous criminal behavior with regard to Peter and Paul. I've seen that up close in person when you've given me a look behind the scenes of your office, but thank you for your previous careful handling of the budget. Understand your request so far. I have a couple of questions related to, one is when you're going digital, which I really do appreciate, you do have to work, I'm guessing, with the magistrates and the judge. And so, I know they're in the room, so I don't want to offend anyone, but I just want to know how that's going, because I'm guessing the other clerks have similar issues. So can you just talk me through how that works between your offices?
Juvenile Court Clerk Janine Gordon. Actually, I love the relationship, the collective. We really work in tandem. And when you think about the collective nature of the court and the juvenile court clerk's office, he has an amazing team. I think my team is even more amazing because it's my team, right? But we work very well together. And so there's that communication that we continue to have. And so when I walked in and say, listen, I want to go paperless and digital, we make sure that we are keeping, because sometimes there can be misunderstandings and maybe a miscommunication, but we work very well together. And, whatever my vision is, I hope to make it easier for everyone. And I think I reiterated that yesterday in our meeting. I don't go to bed every night trying to make their lives harder. I want to go to bed every night trying to think of a way to make it easier, trying to think of a way to continue to serve the Memphis and Shelby County area and all of us, and be a great steward for our funds. And so although initially digitizing things cost money, but it reduces the need for the storage. And we can't even order enough paper because we don't have the storage for it. So we order 40 cases or 60 cases, but we're doing that every 4 to 5 months. And so it will reduce that. But again, going back to that, we have a great team. Both of us have great teams, and we work well together. We may not always agree, but we do have a great team, and we'll get there.
So, Madam Chair, I need to get back in the queue to ask my second question, if I've got 5 seconds left.
We'll go ahead and get back in the queue, and I'm going now. Yes, Commissioner Wright?
Okay, all right, thank you so much. And so my other question on that, and just because you happen to be before us right this minute, is we have, by my count, is it 6 court clerks throughout the county government? I think I have a juvenile court clerk, criminal court clerk who's here with us, circuit court clerk who we've heard from, general sessions who we've heard from, probate court, chancery court. Is that everybody? Anyway, whether or not that's everybody, I'm curious whether you collaborate between the other clerks also on these adventures into new technology, and if there's any economies of scale that could be had. Obviously your work is different probably than some of the others, but I do wonder if there's any kind of economies of scale or shared systems, and that's something that we'll be talking more about with a report that we got from the comptroller, making some suggestions on data sharing and so forth. But anything you can speak to on whether there are shared opportunities of collaboration between clerks.
And there are. We've all of the electeds have gotten together. We have lunch, and we've had lunch there at different, it's been at the assessor's office, it's been the trustee's office, and so we all get together, and we really try to collaborate and see what's working. My brother, probate court clerk Eddie Jones, and I talk a lot, and so, you know, he is that big brother that tries to give advice on, you know, what's needed, what can be done, how you can spend your DP funds. And so, yes, there is collaboration between the clerks, but I like to say, I always like to take the lead, and I want to be that forward thinker that can lead everyone to the well and ask them to drink, and they do.
Thank you, Commissioner Wright. I have a technical question. Could you, Clerk Gordon, you mentioned it in your presentation about how now you're responsible for sending out those orders with the parent and plan, all of that. Is Veritas now the new vendor?
Juvenile Court Clerk Janine Gordon, yes.
You may not know this technical question, but was it something in their contract where they were told that they didn't have to do that anymore? Or was it negotiated where if the previous vendor did and all of a sudden this one does not? I'm just trying to figure out in the technicality of like why now that is on you.
I don't really think it was a technicality. It was more so Maximus just always did it. And then when Maximus was no longer the vendor, it was then said, well, that really is a responsibility of the juvenile court clerk. We do mail out orders. We're not mailing out the child support orders. And so Veritas has not picked up that ball. Again, I am in talks with them to pick up the ball on that because it is a huge cost to me, and I do have to have additional staff members to send those out. So I am hoping that while I'm going to implement trying to email out those child support orders, but there's a verification process that goes with that, that I can eventually get Veritas to pick it back up.
Okay, definitely. That was the first thing I thought about around contracts and how you negotiate around if they are a vendor with you, then that can look different. Thank you so much. There are not any additional commissioners in the queue. Thank you so much, Clerk Gordon, for your presentation.
Thank you.
All right, our next presentation will be Shelby County Probate Court, Clerk Eddie Jones.
All right. Y'all got some new material up here. Okay, I'm learning.
Yeah,
So-
we've moved up a little bit.
Yes,
Yeah.
y'all have. Eddie Jones, Shelby County Probate Court Clerk. I'm here today to present our request for the Probate Court Office. I have with me today Ms. Lakeitha Barnes, who is our CAO, and Richard Morton, who is our Manager A that deals with all the accounting in our office. So let's get started about probate. You kind of know what we do in probate, conservatorship, guardianships, things of that nature, juvenile, judicial hospitalization under mental health law. Our judges handle those cases, name changes, wills and estates, and we also do passports. So, working on some innovative ways to kind of get it back into the queue with all county employees about our passport operation. These are some of the innovative ways that we're trying to elevate that office. So, we don't have very much to ask for. We're pretty much like juvenile court. We've been robbing Peter to pay Paul, and so we get done with whatever y'all give us. But I will say we are a fee-generating office. Since we've been in office 2.5 years, we have over-collected in our revenue projections every year. and we're going to do it again in this fiscal year. So last year, we gave back about, that went back into the general funds, about 850,000. This year, we're going to be somewhere around 500 plus thousand that we're going to give back. So the things that we're asking for in our office pretty much is in our revenue projections, what we do. Most of it is going to come from a new contract that we ended up with. That's $36,000 that y'all just approved. So we have to pay that cost out of our budget. Wasn't there before. So that's 36,000 right there. The next is some PCB, position control. It's about 49,000 that we're doing there. We're taking a principal 2 to a supervisor B. We are doing an equity for my CAO to bring her up equal with all of the other CAOs across county government. So we got those positions that we are looking at. And I think it's one more. Oh, my assistant, who has about 4 or 5 jobs because we don't have the staff. She does our HR, she does our purchasing. She's my assistant, so you know she's busy. So with all of that, we're asking for a reclass on that position from an executive secretary to a special assistant, from a pay grade 46 to a 53, and our principal 2 reclass pay grade 46 to a 48. That cost is $49,305.90, including fringe benefits. We're asking for 18,000 because the cost of goods and everything that we're purchasing, membership dues increased there, only 18,000. And the other is that new contract that we have is 36,000 for a total of $103,405, and we just throw in the 90 cents. Now, my judges could not be here, so they asked that I come. We conversated to speak on their behalf and what they were wanting. So in our Division 1, Judge Townsend, he has only 1 staff person in there. And that staff person is doing the work of 1.5 people. And we had some funds there that we sent over to the county attorney's office. I spoke with the county attorney. So basically they're asked, because they want to increase the pay for their employees. In Division 1, it's 5,000. Division 2 is 10,000, and all of that is included with fringe benefits. And that would be neutral once I get with Ms. Iverson to move that money back over into Division 2. And so that's pretty much it, what we're asking for. And we just hope we get it.
Thank you, Clerk Jones, for your presentation. I don't have any questions no additional questions for commissioners. So thank you so much. Thank you for your presentation. Thank you for your work.
Absolutely. Thank you.
We just after GP should have given him a hard time, though. All right, thank you so much. All right, our next presentation will be Shelby County Criminal Court and Clerk Heidi Kuhn. All right, sorry about that. We had a couple of sidebars there. Clerk Coon.
Good morning. Heidi Kuhn, Criminal Court Clerk. I am here joined with my Director of HR, Anthony Gunn, and my Director of Finance, Mr. Brian Harder. Or if you can call this, if you've seen the show, The Man Between Two Ferns, I am the clerk between two bow ties. So, today. Thank you for this opportunity to speak with you about fiscal year '26. You have heard a lot of presentations, and I think sometimes you may get confused as to what each office does. So I would like to begin my presentation by just giving you a small snapshot so you have an understanding of what we do currently within our office. So we are the administrator of the 9 higher courts, and we handle the indictments for all the misdemeanors and felony cases. We have currently the 9 criminal courts. We used to have 10. We are hoping that we will get the 10th back again, but of course that's up to the state. However, the weighted study does show that even with the 4 big counties, Shelby County has more cases than the other 3 together. So we're crossing our fingers that that will happen. So we have 4 distinct areas within the criminal court clerk's office. The first being that we are the court of records. So we are the keeper of the records. We are the collector of fines and fees, and we are the assigner of the court cases, as well as the protector of evidence. So we actually have all of the evidence in multiple areas. And if you can believe this or not, we actually house over 1 million pieces of evidence. I'd like to just discuss a little bit about our expenditure allocation. So most of our budget goes to personnel. It's 94% of our budget is in personnel, and only 6% is in O&M. I want to talk about our revenues for a moment because we have unfortunately seen a downward trend in collections, not due to our fault alone. We used to collect $3.4 million on average. We are now collecting close to $2.6 million. The issue with that, there's 3 reasons. One, the state revenues. The state has denied several claims of ours, and we are owed over about, Brian, correct me if I'm wrong, close to $200,000? $200,000 that we are owed from the state. When we send in our invoices, they are supposed to reimburse us. They have denied a lot, and it was due to lack of communication. It was just random. We didn't receive any notification or communication that they were going to be doing this. However, I will state that as of yesterday, we received notification that they will be paying all those denied invoices and will be paying going forward. So that should increase our revenue. The second is the county revenues. The county actually should be reimbursing us for several invoices that we have not received, and hopefully we've been working with finance to get that rectified. Also, other revenues, we work with bankruptcy court to receive funding. However, the new judges there have decided that we are unsecured debt and we are a lower priority, so we're not receiving the funding that we used to within bankruptcy court. So that is why we are not generating as much revenue as we have done in the past. Due to that fact, I have tried to implement additional revenue streams within our office. We have a collection agency, and they are very good about collecting revenue. We have incorporated a settlement solution program that is mutually beneficial to not only our office, but defendants as well. What that means is if an individual has a balance of $1,000 or more and that they have not paid on it for 5 years or more, they can come in and give a one lump sum of 50%. Once they have done that, then their balance is zeroed out. And I say that's mutually beneficial because not only are we receiving the money that we probably would have never collected, but they pay their fines and fees, and then they have an opportunity to get an expungement. So we sent out about 22,000, or when was it about 7,000? 7,000 letters to all eligible individuals. And as you can see on the slide here, we have collected over $206,000 just with that program, money we would have never seen. We are also implementing a garnishment program, and hopefully that will address and assist us with receiving more funds. Now, since from 2001 to date, to January 2025, we have hired 70 employees. However, we also have 104, such an incredibly low salary, and we're going to talk about that. So the salary distribution on the next page is, you can see that 70% of my staff make less than $40,000, and I can tell you that it's more of them making less than $35,000 a year. So I understand that there is the market study that is to take place. I know the mayor's administration is also looking at increasing salaries, and I know that other elected officials have said, I'm not asking for increases, but I have been in front of you before requesting increases for my team because I truly believe that they are our best asset and our resource here in Shelby County, and they are paid a pittance. It is amazing to me that our clerks only make $35,000 when Davidson counties are making $50,000. It is upsetting to me that I continue to see that the DAs, the PDs, the county attorneys, and other individuals who make a lot of money in comparison are getting raises when we're not giving the individuals who are lowest paid, who make $35,000 or less, nothing. And so I am requesting a pay increase for all my employees who make less than $40,000. And that does include deputies, deputy twos, principals, principal two, collection counselor, and accounting clerks. As I stated previously, 70% of my staff make less than that $40,000. So the employees affected would be 61 individuals, and in those categories listed above. And the budget increase would require, with estimated fringe of $311,285, with an average increase of being $4,801. I want to believe that change is going to happen, but I keep hoping in technology. Technology advancements is very important within the courtroom. We are behind the 8 ball when it comes to the rest of the state. We need to become more effective and more efficient. We need to improve public information and transparency. And as you mentioned, Commissioner Thornton, we are very interested in providing data for internal and external clients. And also the question was raised, I think by you, Commissioner Wright, are we collaborating with other offices? And we have the enterprise justice system or the Odyssey system. So when I did my research or other attorneys to be able to research cases, we currently don't have that ability. It's really limited to either the DAs or the PDs, which we have received a lot of pushback from the private attorneys because they're not able to access information. So this research would allow them to receive that information and view and obtain records. That would be a cost share with general sessions. We are asking for year one, which is the split for our office is $18,000. Commissioner Thornton, you mentioned data. The one program that I'm very, very interested in is called Court Analytics, and it's really going to drive down to the granular level of from indictment to disposal on a case. Anyone would be able to look at that information publicly, and so they would be able to get information on current cases from the beginning to the end, and I think that's really important. We haven't been able to do that. We just had an upgrade with Tyler Technologies. This is a program that we have had implemented since 2016. I will say that the state is currently looking at a unified system across the state. Everyone would need to use this, but this is going to cost billions of dollars. So what we're doing currently is moving forward with what we can with these different types of programs to benefit our office as well as the community. These two programs, research and court analytics, would be shared with general sessions. The next that we have is the redaction program. The redaction program is going to redact personal information from the programs to make sure that, because currently we have to go and we have to actually mark it out. It's very archaic. We need to make sure that we have a system that will automatically do that for us. speaking of different technology, I think Commissioner Wright, you have talked about AI. We are investigating that and researching that as we speak, but unfortunately, these take precedent because I think data, redaction, and research is really important right now. It's not going to alleviate the issue of AI is going to take over. I think at some point it's going to help, but this is important, this takes priority, and there's an expense attached to it, but we are currently looking and seeing what's trending and to see if AI could benefit our office. So in summary, just for the FY26 increase request, the personnel would be $311,285. That would be for the increases of everyone in the office who makes less than $40,000 to be actually at that threshold of $40,000. Technology would be $132,370. I had mentioned O&M. We have seen increases in supplies as well as per diem rates for the state have increased, and so we're just asking for coverage for that. So that would be an additional $10,000 for a total of $453,655 for the criminal court clerk's office. And I'll take any questions you may have.
Thank you, Clerk Kuhn. Commissioner Wright, you're in the queue.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Clerk Kuhn, for this really wonderful presentation. It's really, really well done, and as previous ones have been, but this is very clear to me. I think what I would like to see is some of the headcount data that you've had in previous presentations, just to kind of pair up what you're asking versus just an overall view of just a chart or a graph to see, again, how many staff and in what departments, if you have that. So if that's something that you can provide just whenever, that'd be great. But
Do you mean you want us to break down who's on our staff, what they do, positions, if I'm understanding you correctly?
Yeah, just overall head count, and then
Okay.
maybe by either by function or division or however
Sure.
you.
That can be done.
But I think all of this looks really good. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Commissioner Wright. Commissioner Thornton, you're in the queue.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Clerk. A similar question that I asked to Judge Sugarman. Do you have any public-facing data presently? And if so, where can we access that?
So since we just got upgraded in our system, we have on our website, we provide data. That is being changed currently. So we're working towards that. We have our app that'll be coming out, and then if we can get this court analytics, that's going to alleviate and be a little bit more specific than what we have currently. So on our website, we'll have that information. I don't have it publicly facing currently, but it's coming.
For the court analytics, is it a requirement that IT approves that particular platform?
No.
Okay, so how long would it take after you're allocated the resources for you to be able to have the platform up and running?
Fortunately, since we just had that upgrade, they mentioned to us that'll be a lot quicker. I'm hoping it'll be up and standing within 3 months.
Okay. And when I hear the different platforms that different electeds are proposing, are we ever coming together to figure out how they integrate with each other? I remember when I was trying to push for a data platform, it was forced through the IT steering committee, so I'm a little annoyed that one would have to go through a vetting process and others wouldn't. But a core function of what I was pushing was to be able to consolidate data. So you have said person showing up in your office as a data point, and then they're over here in probate court as a data point. They're over here in different courts. And so it's very inefficient and redundant to view people as separate cases. It would be so much more efficient for us to be able to see how they're streamlined interacting with all of the courts and just all of the government. So I just feel like it's good to see you mention general sessions. Oftentimes I heard you mention them as a collaborative partner, but it would be great for us to figure out how we can start to view people across all courts. And so if there's any capacity within court analytics to do that, then I would encourage you to, I don't know, opt for that module or go for that function. But that's lacking for me, not just for your presentation, but just across the board. And I'm going to do my due diligence to figure out what stipulates. Attorney Ingram, hopefully you can help me with this. Like, what would stipulate that something goes through the IT steering committee for its vetting? Because that was something that was pushed on me to be able to address in that particular committee. Thank you.
And thank you. And if I may address those two issues, I did speak with the IT steering committee, the subcommittee's judicial committee. To answer your second question in regard to collaboration and collective data, I think the main issue, Commissioner, is the fact that we have different software. We have different programs. Probate and criminal, we don't cross over. And so they have their own case management system. And so the reason why we collaborate with General Sessions is because we both have the same information. And just like we have, because we have like vertical prosecution, so we have to have that same system. We don't have that with Circuit. Now, if we could have a central repository in which that could happen and everybody could have that data, I don't know who would handle that. That is a possibility. I know that having to go to each entity is cumbersome, and I am with you on the fact that we should have maybe one system in place. My issue with that is, I know I just mentioned that the state is looking at doing a unified system, and that would include every single court would have one system. And I think the reason and the thinking for that is if someone in Shelby wanted to know if someone in Hamilton County had a case, they'd be able to look that up. The problem with that is that, one, it's incredibly expensive, and everyone is different in each county. So Shelby County, because we're so large, we have a juvenile court, we have a probate, we have circuit, we have criminal, we have general sessions. But when you're looking at different counties, they're combined. And so they have different systems because maybe it's general sessions and probate, or maybe it's circuit and general. And so it's very, very different. So I have been working, I am on the Tennessee Court Association, as well as the officials task force to try and look at this to see if it would benefit the state. That is one way that we could do it, but it's incredibly expensive, and I think you're looking at it's probably going to take 7 to 10 years to implement. So we're looking at what we can do currently to benefit everyone, and this is one way to do it for us. I think we're taking small steps, but small steps leads to a good end.
Thank you, Clerk Kuhn. Commissioner Wright, you're back in the queue.
Thank you again, Madam Chair. And I just want to follow up again with, because what we're talking about here is operational. So what about on the CIP side? Where does your office stand, and are there any, I think that we should be covering that in this committee, unless I'm mistaken, on the CIP request. So is there anything you can speak to on that side?
For our office, we're not requesting any CIP funds.
Okay, right, all right. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Wright. Commissioner Thornton, you're back in the queue.
Thank you, Chair. I feel like, it seems like there wouldn't really be a need in 2025 to reinvent the wheel. I've heard a lot of people reference other counties that they're going to go visit. And, I just can't get over this concept of being able to see any individual across their entire footprint of engagement with the court system. And so, particularly at the state level, as you represent in different capacities, like there has to be something that we can source and bring back to Shelby County, because it's just, it's difficult to be able to allocate limited resources very intentionally when you can't actually figure out, who those people are. Like we're just spreading our dollars in like a very unintentional way. And I think that some of the outcomes that we're seeing and the lack of sustainable outcomes is just very indicative of us not doing things in a very targeted way. So, I mean, really what I'm talking about is just trying to drill this thing down to neighborhoods. When you think about persons that are touching the courts, would it be a great revelation to see that, you know, Brittany Thornton has bounced around different court systems, paying these fines and fees and all these type of different things, and Brittany just needed support in her neighborhood, you know, and not only was it just a Brittany, but it was many Brittany's. And so I don't think that we're drawing enough conclusions to be able to address the core needs of the people that are touching the courts. And I would like to see more streamlined technology to be able to do that. And I mean, it's just my basic belief that in 2025, we're talking about robots and AI and self-driving cars. Like, I just feel like, you know, it's within the realm of reason for us to be able to go out and figure out how to get the tools that we need to do this. So just anything that you can do as a fellow elected leader to be able to drive that conversation forward. And I know we have just one of our electeds here left, but yeah, I would like to see us try to bring that level of innovation into the conversation, to put it on us, to try to fund, you know, what it is that you guys see is working in other parts of the state or the nation. Just, you know, anything you can do in that regard would be helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Thornton. Thank you, Clerk Kuhn. Thank you for your presentation. And I don't have any questions because you answered everything within your presentation. So thank you for your work.
Thank you for the opportunity.
All right, that was our last presentation. At this time, I'll give an opportunity for Ms. Tipton to come up. Ms. Tipton?
Good morning, Audrey Tipton, Director of Administration and Finance. I am standing in for Director Thompson, who is traveling to the state today to meet with our comptroller and some other people in Nashville to ensure that we are going to produce our budget on time. And I also want to take this opportunity to let you commissioners know that these
House Bill 306. Can you just talk about the impact that this particular legislation will have to this whole budget process?
Audrey Tipton, Director of Administration and Finance. Yes, we are implementing the new ERP system right now as we speak, and all of the electeds as well as the Mayor's Administration have been using Oracle to submit their requests, all their budget modifications, so we're going to be able to tabulate that better this year, and we will be identifying the items that are included within the proposed budget and the ones that were not included within the proposed budget. And I saw Director Thornton to come up, so I don't know if you wanted to speak on the legislature or you want me to go ahead and speak on it? No, I was just going to say that Director Thompson is in Nashville as well to attend that, and that legislation, according to how we are interpreting the language within it, would potentially require some type of tax increase or additional revenues in order to be able to follow what the electors are asking for. So we are not in agreement with a portion of it, with them being able to bring their budgets to the commission and presenting all of their budget requests in advance. We don't have a problem with that. The issue is, I think they're misinterpreting or misunderstanding what we do when it comes down to vacancy savings. The vacancy savings is an area that most counties and municipals use in order to prepare their budgets. And if we remove that, it would require that we provide enough revenue to sustain all vacant positions as well as filled positions, which means that you will need additional revenue to balance your budget.
So we need the additional revenue to balance the budget, but more than likely not actually needing it because of how the vacancy savings work, that we aren't filling the full vacancy year to year.
Audrey Tipton, when you prepare a budget, you're saying you have the revenue. You have to have it in hand and ready for the budget. If you don't use it, that's one thing. But when you prepare the budget, it's appropriated, it's adopted. It's just like having a credit card. When they give you a level of $35,000 to spend on your credit card, that goes against your credit rating because you have the ability to go out and spend that money. So we have to have the money in our budget accounted for to pay for any salary that's in that budget.
So the new legislation will require us to increase taxes to be able to cover that cost. But based on our year-to-year performance, we know that we're not filling all of the vacancy, so we would have additional funds that would be unspent.
Audrey Tipton, it doesn't work that way.
Okay.
You have to have the money accounted for in your budget. Even though you're not going to spend it, you still have to have it in there. You're either raising taxes or you're going to find another revenue source.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think we're on the same page. That's an interesting dilemma for us to be in, to have to raise taxes to be able to address the legislation. Okay, well, I guess through Theo, we'll get the latest update with what's happening with that particular bill, correct? Or I would love to know as soon as possible what comes of the House Bill 306 and what that means for this process.
So technically, that would be Mr. Morrison. He would let us know where it is and how far it moves on our end, because he's someone who should be working in tandem with Attorney Ingram about updating us around what's happening at the Capitol. But I do know that last subcommittee, Director Thompson did talk about the administration lobbying around this particular bill. Director Thornton.
Yes. Good morning, Gerald Thornton, Director of Human Resources. Also, this particular bill does not limit those 5 elected officials from their salary increases. In other words, it actually throws our compensation study out the window, because as written, they are allowed to set the salaries of their personnel. So if you got, I heard Clerk Kuhn asking for $40,000 for her clerks, which is what Commissioner Sugarman had passed this past week. Then if the clerks decide to give $70,000 per clerk, then the way as written, House Bill 306, it allows those 5 particular elected officials to actually raise their salaries according to whatever they want to give to their personnel, which also throws off any type of compensation study or any type of compensation that we have with the other elected officials. And it's just for those 5 particular elected officials. It's not for the entire county. So this bill does not affect all elected officials, only affects those 5 that are enumerated in that particular bill.
Commissioner
Not
Thornton,
good
you back in
legislation.
the
Thank you, Chair. So it sounds like you guys are a fan of House Bill 306. Or I'm sure as Director Thompson is down there, some of the 5 offices may also have some representation to advocate for this. I would say, just to your point around throwing off the compensation study, I do think that it's necessary to be able to create norms so that we can see upon it potentially being passed. I don't know what's the legislative appetite for this particular bill, but if it is passed, for us to be able to just show what's in the realm of reason and what is exorbitant, if any of the 5 constitutional fee officers would choose to do something excessive. So I do still view it as necessary. And with that in mind, where are we at on being able to get that data?
Good morning again, Gerald Thornton, Director of Human Resources. We're actually planning on giving you all a presentation on April 16th for this committee, and the actual compensation policy itself is due on April 23rd.
Okay, good stuff. April is here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, this actually concludes committee number 1, Budget and Finance.